Well, we're here at Toronto Motorsports Park, getting ready to do some drag racing at some point if the track cooperates, but we're also here to talk about three of the nicest bikes that I think are available right now. This category of machine is one of my favorites. I've always been drawn to naked, big engine, big brakes, lightweight chassis, cool looking, upright, comfortable. They've always been the bike for me that visually tick all the boxes from a sense of utility, luggage. There's all kinds of options for all these different amenities. You can take a passenger in reasonable comfort, but they also happen to be some of the fastest and most exciting bike to ride. Three of our favorites are depicted here. Monster 1200S. I have to say it would be my favorite. There's an emotional component that this bike satisfies. The way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it feels is just awesome. This bike underwent pretty significant changes for last year, according to Ducati. Kind of make this thing look a little lighter, a little leather, maybe a little more skeletal in certain ways. So the tank volume was reduced, a bit narrower between your legs, larger gap from the tire to the tail section. It's been narrowed quite a bit. Looks more like a sport bike from the back end. Lots of refinements with the screens, steeper angles, so it's less affected by sun. Like all kinds of really nice, but really meaningful changes that you feel immediately. Engine-wise, this thing is awesome. 150 horsepower, big torque, wicked brake, perfect suspension. I mean, all these things going for it. There are a couple things about this bike that this category tends to kind of offer almost everything these days. Cruise control is becoming almost like a feature that's getting kind of hard to live without. It does have a quick shifter, which is great, but cruise is offered of course on the MT-10 and on the Super Duke. But again, from a personal standpoint, one of my all-time favorites. Can't really touch a Monster. They're pretty special machines. So with Ducati, it's been a fixture of our store for so many years that this brand is kind of near and dear to me and near and dear to all of us. Yamaha is a relative newcomer. It's been great for us right out of the gates. We're coming up on our first year with the Yamaha brand, and they've got a really diverse engine story with their twins and their triples, and then this big inline four. This bike, of course, has like a long lineage. They really, in a lot of ways, kind of pioneered the sport naked category. FZ1 in the late 90s, that was one of the first bikes that had the half fairing, but had the big engine, had nice brakes, had proper kind of true sporting character to it. This one kind of draws on that lineage, and what I love about it is that you are getting current generation R1 motor in it, of course retuned for use on the street, more mid-range like they so often do with these things, but you're not riding around on tech that's a couple of years old. And that was always, in my opinion, kind of made the FC1s and the FZ10s just a little bit less appealing. This particular bike has all the amenities that you would want in a big bike like this. Cruise is standard, the controls are great, very comfortable. Suspension-wise, this one's often criticized for not being as sophisticated as some of the other bikes in the category. Not something that I've really found. Gets into corners really nicely, gets out of corners well. It's settled on rough roads. Like, it really does seem to have an awesome sort of real world vibe to it. And with that, things like luggage, you can get bigger windscreens. You've got all the options for touring, and I would say that in the sport naked category, this would be strongest contender for that lightweight kind of sport touring machine. One of my favorites, really, from a riding standpoint. People often will comment on this looking like a transformer. We hear that in the shop a lot. I think I like the way it looks a lot. I will say that it looks maybe a little generic compared to the original FZ1. Would be one of my favorite looking motorcycles. I wish it had a little bit more to kind of separate it, because it is such a wonderful motorcycle in so many ways, and I would love the looks to go along with how unique this bike is. But that's a very, very small knock on an otherwise incredible bike, and one that I've spent a lot of time on this summer. So no naked bike shootout would be complete without, I think, what is in the eyes of most people the ultimate sport naked, and that is the Super Duke. right from its inception, this thing captured, I think, the imagination of most people, myself included. In the era when this bike was sort of really coming into its own, it's kind of when, I think for me anyway, I love sport bikes, I always have. I found myself kind of leaning towards these things. If I was in a bike shop, I was in a showroom at a bike show, instead of me jumping on the latest R1 or the latest Ducati sport bike, I was really kind of looking towards these things. This bike has still done that for me ever since. I've loved watching it kind of go through transformations, and it's has matured and grown up and gotten bigger and badder, and has kind of taken that top prize of king of this category of bike. From a ride standpoint, fast, comfortable, engine is awesome, top to bottom, absolutely everywhere. Has cruise, has a full color screen, has available to purchase. You can get the track pack, which gives you more enhanced features as far as you can turn a lot of the controls almost off. We found that adds slide control and a few other track-centric features. One of my favorite things about this bike is the distinctive look and feel that this thing has. When you see a Super Duke, even if people don't really know what a KTM is, but they know what a Super Duke is. They've been able to produce something that is really become a bit of an icon, which is really, really interesting to see happening. They've done a really good job blending very modern sort of details like that headlight with some more kind of classic elements of like the trellis chromoly frame, which is a feature of every KTM, which is something that's really, really cool. From a look standpoint, it's one of those bikes visually that really has that punch and that feel to it. I think sometimes maybe to its detriment. I mean, when the new one comes out, the old ones look a little bit dated. When you look at a 10-year-old Monster, it still looks awesome. And when you look at a 5-year-old KTM, it looks great, not as cool as the new one. When you have styling that is that progressive, there is that chance of dating the one that came before it, and I'm probably going to get some hate for that, but it's something that I feel about this thing. But from a ride quality experience standpoint, I mean, you can't touch the Super Duke, so pretty special bike.